Good evening. It is August 24th, 2023, and I would like to welcome you and to call to order the meeting of the South Brunswick Township Board of Education. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business of interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Board Secretary has caused notice of this meeting, including date, time, and location, to be posted in the South Brunswick Public Library in the Board office, filed with the Township Clerk, communicated online at the district website, and communicated to the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger. Mr. Pulowski, roll call, please.
Ms. Julie Ferrara.
Present.
Ms. Laura Hernandez. Ms. Deepa Karthik. Ms. Alicia Khan.
Here.
Mr. Raja Krishna.
Present.
Mr. Mike Mitchell.
Present.
Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Here.
Dr. Smith Raj. Mrs. Lisa Rogers.
Present.
We have one.
Thank you, Mr. Pulowski. May I have a motion and second to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Ms. Ferreira, motion, second, Mr. Krishna. I got you next. The next order of business, we have to approve 5 board minutes of May 4th, May 11th, June 8th, June 20th, and the executive minutes of June 20th. Mr. Pulowski drafted the minutes and sent them out on all the meetings to the board on Monday, August 21st. Are there any corrections to the minutes distributed? Board members? No? Very good. Minutes are approved. And I would also like to extend a special thank you to Marcia Garitano for her commitment over the past 20 years in ensuring the minutes are completed as we start the new year. Thanks, Marcia. Before I ask Mr. Fetter for an update, I'd like to address an issue that has come to this board's attention, one that concerns this community's well-being. There have been several questions circulating on social media that have led to the tagging and harassment of our sitting board members. To answer questions and claims suggesting that the rules set forth in this area by New Jersey School Boards Association are non-existent. Our role as a board member is a privilege, one that comes with the responsibility to uphold the standard of ethical conduct and integrity. Therefore, it is important for the community to understand and recognize that the designated platform for conducting official board business is our board meetings. These board meetings serve as the arena where matters are discussed, decisions are made, and actions are taken. Therefore, board-related matters cannot and will not be addressed or resolved through social media or via email. Next, let's dispel any misconception about the existence of NJSBA rules and ethical guidelines. These rules are not mere figments of imagination. They are the pillars upon which we stand as responsible board members and provide a framework that guides our actions, ensuring that our decisions are rooted in the best interest of all of our students. To those who aspire to join this board in the future, I strongly encourage you to acquaint yourself with these guidelines. Finally, while everyone has the right to express their opinions, remember, an opinion holds its value when it is supported by accurate information and conveyed with respect. South Brunswick thrives when decisions and discussions are thoughtful and constructive. Moving forward, this board is committed to upholding a positive and constructive atmosphere. We understand that discussions will unfold across various social media platforms, but it is everyone's responsibility to channel board-related matters to their rightful place, the official board meetings. We have much work to do, and we all must ensure that our conversations are productive, respectful, and centered around accurate information. Thank you. Mr. Fetter, may we have your update?
With permission, I'd like to move to this podium.
Yes, thank you.
First of all, public and board. So what I've done is the opening of school, and I thought it would be a good idea for us to see where we're going, see how we're prepared, see the things we're facing as we move forward. So my presentation tonight is the way I'm going to do my report this evening. I am going to start with a reminder that we opened school September 7th, full day. That is Thursday, September 7th. I want to make another reminder that student placement information is being released. We released 1 through 5, and kindergarten will be forthcoming shortly. And we also will have, towards the opening of school, when the middle school and high schools will release their schedules as we do every year. So that is pretty traditional. Before I even get into this, we have to thank, I don't think people realize and see what the behind the scenes people do to get a school up and running every year. We have our various groups of support staff, buildings and grounds, custodians, secretaries, paras, the drivers who do their dry runs, and all this work to make sure that we're set on day one. Of course, the administration and so many teachers come in at various times to do things to prepare for the school. The curriculum writing, I don't know, Evelyn, about how many different curriculums were written this summer? 123 revisions to curriculum this summer. So it's pretty tremendous work by some pretty amazing staff. If you all remember, every year we get the book, the calendar. It's the hard copy of the calendar that has all the artwork of our students. So that is coming down the pike shortly. That's being worked on, always to the last minute. And those are my announcements for today. But what I want to do is spend a little time here. And I think some of the things I'm going to share tonight, I'm sorry to the board and to the public that might have seen some of this, but due to our financial situation, I'm going to continue to inform the community on our status. We'll be doing a lot of work in September. Our board president will be rolling out a plan for our community to organize, to get out in front of the legislation in Trenton and see what we have to do to reverse this trend of pure cuts to our district. But I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But in the meantime, I want to make sure I arm the board with the correct information that you need should you have to answer questions, which is part of being a board member. So let me go through it and get started. So are the schools ready to open? Yes, we are ready to open. Well, we'll be ready to open on September 7th. I think that we're never fully ready to open until September 7th around 7:30 in the morning. We have maintained our security, still working with the South Brunswick Police Department. Our staffing, I will say, I'm going to put this out there, staffing is if you guys remember the challenges of staffing for buses when the driver shortage happened, we're now dealing with staffing pretty much across the board. And it's not education, right? This is something that every organization and many, many different kinds of systems are dealing with on a regular basis. We're no different, but we are making progress. I would call your attention to our Assistant Superintendent, Kimberly Malloy White, at the end over there in her Philadelphia Kelly Green. She and her team has been working, I'd say overtime was really not even touching the surface, on ensuring that we are getting the best candidates available to us, interfacing with our administrative team who's doing their best to get the candidates. This has been a hard situation since COVID. And sometimes people might think, well, it's a South Brunswick. What's happening in South Brunswick? It has nothing to do with any particular district. Finding certain staff members, finding school nurses, finding special education teachers to teach higher level coursework. It's very, very difficult. So, but South Brunswick is a very attractive district, so we are able to bring in some really good people even in these times. So we're excited about that. We mentioned that Evelyn and her team have worked on 123 different curriculum areas. That is pretty exciting. Good work. Thank you very much. A topic that I hear about often is field trips. Since COVID, it's been a tough one. The places that we used to go to they stopped accepting field trips, which is kind of odd. Transportation costs are through the roof for field trips right now. Nurses were unavailable. So Evelyn and Suzanne have been working with our admin team who will work with their teachers. We still ran about 100, 150 field trips last year, but we usually do more than that. So we'll be bringing back the ones that we can, and we're excited. I know kids love those things, so we're going to continue doing that. Our buildings and facilities, we are here again for the second time because North is still getting finalized, Dave, with the HVAC. So we, as you know, we completely replaced the HVAC systems in the 2 schools where the ESIP did not get. That was North and South. So those 2 schools have received completely new systems, not the windows, correct, Dave? No windows. We had to scrap that project for now. Along with that, we have movement. We do a lot of things. It takes a long time to get our buildings ready, but they're in great shape. It's fun to walk into buildings at the beginning of the year and see the shine on the terrazzo floors. That's always pretty cool. So I like that. Transportation. So again, we have routes. We have routes with our contracted services. They are required to do dry runs because the last thing we want are those days back in the old days where the first day was a disaster. We don't want that. So we do a lot to avoid that, and we've been avoiding that. We spoke about transportation a lot over the years, but we're in very good shape. I believe one of Kimberly Malloy White's assistants said to me, Scott, I think this is the first August we've never had to hire a bus driver. That means we are fully staffed with our people, so that's pretty good. So we're excited about that. Another big thing that happens are school materials and supplies get delivered. You should see the amount of boxes. In fact, we had one $300,000 order of books that came to our loading dock at 4 Executive Drive. And Evelyn, Suzanne, Sherry Sassine, and our super ace in the hole, Jimmy Zinmeister, sorted, organized, worked with Brian Redfield, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, and those babies are done. I think I saw the email from Jim saying, finished. And in true Jim fashion, he said, I love the project. He wants us to buy more books so we can sort them. Great guy. If you don't know Jim Zinmeister, fantastic great guy in our school district, and he came through like a champion. So Jim, if you're listening, great job, buddy. And we talked a little bit before about placement and class schedule, so more about that as we go. So that was the start of some good news, and we'll have plenty of good news tonight, but I do have to share with the board what's going on with our budget. So you know we adopt a budget in May is your final budget hearing. So May, since then, June, July, August happens, and then the school year happens. And you know, I'm gonna beat it to death a little bit tonight, but that's not my goal. I do want to share some extremely pertinent issues. So the Bridge Academy, one of our main mental health support systems at the high school and the Crossroads South, we got a bill from them. It used to be $140,000 last year, Dave. This year, the bill will be $325,000. That's new information. That's $185,000 unbudgeted money. But that's not the end of it. We've been lobbying, Rafael Morales, our Director of Student Services, has been lobbying, along with myself, to get DCF, the Division of Child and Family, who funds 60% of that program, to allow us, basically simplicity, allow us to use the services that are currently at South, three people, also at North. By the way, the size of the services at the high school are the same as at South. So since North and South, when you add them together, are still smaller than the high school, we simply wanted to be able to use those services at both schools. They sent us a letter yesterday. They denied it. They said, we will not allow anyone who works at South to talk to a North student. The level of insanity of Trenton at this point, I can't explain. So now, not only do we have a $185,000 increase if we maintain that program, we still have nothing at North. So to add that at North, even if I only added one person, and these are clinicians that make up probably in the 100,000 range, you're looking at a possibility of us already in the hole about $250,000 to $300,000 before we start. That's one problem. Since May, new legislation has come out. That legislation, we have no idea how it's going to impact our budget, except it will impact our budget. It is legislation that redefines the way sick leave is used in the school system specifically. While we all are about supporting our staff whenever we can, it still will have a monetary impact. So the issue is the monetary impact, not the ability of staff to utilize sick time. It's how do we fund it? So we do not know. It's the first year we'll be implementing. We have no idea what the impact will be. We believe the impact could be as high as 20% of our current costs. That would be another $250,000 to $350,000, if that's the case. Hope it's not the case, but it could be to no fault of anyone's except for new legislation. So if you add the low end of that, 250, the low end of bridge, we're at 500,000. We haven't started yet. Staffing costs. Kimberly Malloy White will tell you there are now brand new people coming fresh out of college negotiating for step 7, step 8, as if they've been working in the field for 10 years. People that are moving from other districts want their salaries from the other districts and plus. Back in the day, you'd be able to hire someone for the appropriate price. I don't know what industries you can do that for anymore. Dave was telling a story the other day about passing a local like five and dime type place with a sign on the door, $26 an hour or $25 an hour, something like that, for working in a convenience type store because they can't find people. The cost of staffing is extremely high. Remember, we are a 2% cap on the tax levy district. That's the way it works. We are not allowed to do anything else. So these are just things you need to know as you hear from me throughout the year on why we might be doing certain things. This is the reason. Transportation costs, we've talked about that over the years, through the roof. You can see it if anybody wants to see it, anybody in the public, anybody anywhere wants to see, you can see our board agendas when we have to approve a route and see the bids that come in for routes. We get bids $500, $600 a day for busing small groups or even single students. That's the way the market is right now. We all know about inflation. And I want to just describe this thing called one-year purchasing. And Dave and I were talking earlier today, and an analogy came to me that I want to share and see if it lands with you guys. So when you buy a house, you agree, if you're buying with a mortgage, you are agreeing to the mortgage rules. And you know, if you do a 30-year fixed, let's say, a 30-year fixed mortgage, you're agreeing at that time to an interest rate that will then equate to a monthly payment for the next 30 years, right? That's a traditional way that people buy houses. Imagine if you bought that house, and let's say it was a 3% interest rate, but imagine if you didn't buy the 30-year fixed and you got the ARM. There's a thing called the ARM, a mortgage ARM. If you were in an ARM when all this inflation started, I can't imagine your situation right now financially. That's how we live. School districts live with a one-year ARM on almost every expense we have. We do not have fixed costs. Imagine if we were able to say, wow, gas, when it was $1.75 a gallon, we were like, you know what, I'm buying 30 years of gas at $1.75. I know the rate, $1.75. It wouldn't matter what happens to gas for the next 30 years. We have our rate. Like people who are having trouble moving from one house to another because their interest rate would skyrocket their costs. We deal with that every single year. When the inflation hit the gas immediately, we went from about $2 a gallon for the kind of gas we had to buy to about $4.60 a gallon. No way to cover that cost. That is the way school districts operate. So we can't do 30-year purchasing except for bonding, which is fine, the way we build this building on a 30-year, probably a 30 or 25-year bond. But that's the reality. So with inflation, when someone says, you know what, that student desk used to be $80, is now $120, and we need the student desk, we have to buy the student desk. But what we're trying to do is not buy the student desk and use what we have and buy used furniture or other things. We're doing everything we can. The other one, and let me be clear on this one to the board so you fully understand this, and if the community's listening to this is extremely important. When we went one-to-one during COVID, 100% of the funds to do that came from the federal government stimulus. We spent over $1 million on the technology to go to one-to-one. Anyone who owns a computer knows there's a lifespan. They're not replenishing that $1 million they gave us. So when those machines start to go, we have to either bag one-to-one and say we're not doing that anymore, or find a way to purchase the machines. That's real. This is not, well, he's making stuff up. This is the reality we are currently in. So that's some of our budget challenges that we're facing. It keeps David up at night, and it's not a fun way to be. And David and I have been here 6 years, and for 6 years is what we've been doing. 6 years, all we do is figure out how to do the exact same thing we're doing one day with less money the next day. It's a debilitating way to operate, but so far we've been able to do it pretty successfully, not 100% successfully. Okay, let me show you what's actually the real situation, the real numbers, so you can digest this clearly. This is our S2 state aid impact. As you can see, in the right-hand column is the total amount of aid lost. The 24-25 school year on there, the bottom row, is a projection. That is what will happen if everything the state has told us happens. They will take a minimum of $5 million. The reason it's a minimum, that does not account for enrollment, which ours is lower. It does not account for valuation of the town, which easily could be higher again. If those two things get impacted into this number, that $4.966 million could be anything above that. If you look at the 23-24 number, $3,954,000, that number was supposed to be $1.2 million. And that's the number they took instead. Then they threw us the bones of stabilization aid, which is a joke. As of this minute, we've lost $9 million of our state aid with a 2% tax cap. Next year, as we go into next year, we're looking at a minimum of a total loss of $14 million in state aid. Add to that $2.5 million in the pretend phony money they gave us this year that won't be coming back next year. Another $1.5 million they gave us that will not be coming back. And you're looking at extraordinarily amounts of money that this board is going to have to make some very difficult decisions. So I'm warning you. You think this is bad? Forget it. If this happens and this community does not come together to fight, the right fight, the actual fight that exists, game over. Game over. This is probably the most important word that there is in this formula. The state formula uses and was built to define adequacy. Adequacy is, by any standard definition, the quality of being good enough to be acceptable. Acceptable. Not to be great. Not to be, oh my God, amazing. To be acceptable. Okay? The state built a formula. And what they did in this formula, it's pretty smart. The concept is smart. Let's see about your district. What's your district worth? How many kids you got? What kind of kids you got? What kind of staff? What do you got? What's going on in your district? Let's put it all into a blender and spit out a number. Well, they spit out a number for us. And according to the state, South Brunswick School District has been under adequacy for 6 straight years. And this coming year, we will be under adequacy by over $7.2 million. The state of New Jersey built a formula that says, hey, South Brunswick, you need to spend $7.2 million just to be acceptable. So you know what we're going to do for you? Here's what we're going to do for you. We got a plan. Let me show you their plan. That's their plan. Let's take $5 million more away so that you'll go so far under adequacy, you won't be able to educate your kids. Let's do that. That's a great plan. Thank you, Trenton. Nothing I'm saying to you is exaggeration or cannot be proven in a million different ways. Everything here is factual. That's the number we're looking at as of today. We are operating this school district we're $7 million below acceptable. That's the term. We're $7.2 million below acceptable. Let me just tell you what has all this meant over the last grouping of years. In 2018-19, we had 1,222 staff in the district. This year, we are starting with 1,172. That's a difference of negative 50 staff. People want to come to me and they want to give me, why can't you just do this instead of doing that? That's why. How many more staff do you want me to fire? Tell me, how many more do you want me to fire? Because that's where I'm going. I'm either going to fire more staff or do something else. When I fire staff, just so you know, just so you keep this in mind to the board and to our community, that directly hurts students. It takes away from their ability to be successful in this district. We're down 50, and they want to take 5 million more away. Here's what's already been lost. We've increased fees to families, 15 staff reductions. It was 14 last week, now it's 15 staff reductions. And what's happening? Let me just explain what's happening. Staff member leaves, we assess for efficiency, for possibility, what can be done, what loss do we take in not filling the position, and we make a decision if we can do it. If we can do it, we do it. So we're down to 15 positions already for this coming school year that we're down. We raised the Summer Institute cost. I don't even know what we're at now, but it's much higher than it was when I first got here. We're bleeding the district reserves. District reserves in a family's life would be my savings. And you know, you spent years saving, doing a good job, collecting your money so you have that for the rainy day. We're not gonna have it. Next year we have to bleed all of it. Even though we have a 5-year plan for it, it might not work. We've reduced aid in lieu payments, which means there are families that were getting an amount of money that we took that away. They're not getting that money anymore. We've reduced monies for professional development. Obviously, you know, I've seen signs, see the people in the audience that are very unhappy with this decision, reduce the courtesy busing by 200, let me just be clear, it's 250 students, not 250 families, as gets reported sometimes on social media. Still a lot and not good. We've also combined elementary special education programming, which caused us to move 20 plus students from one school to the other. This is a lot. And that's barely scratching the surface if what happens, happens. This list, we'd beg to have this list. We'd beg to have this list next year if they do what they're gonna do. So let me talk about this because I knew we had people in the audience tonight, and I know the board's been asking me, Scott, the $400,000 that we saved in the courtesy busing. So I just want to kind of give people an understanding of what $400,000 could look like in a school district so you understand how the money works. So for example, the Crossroads, right now Crossroads has 1,000 students or more involved in the Crossroads AM music program. What that means is our students come to Crossroads before the school day starts so that the band programs can happen without interfering in their academics. If you take that away, then the band programs will happen during the school day. And that's the old-fashioned model where people get pulled out of class to go to their programs. That's how it works. We don't do that right now. So while it's $90,000, we can remove the $90,000. And listen, if the board wants me to do this, just tell me. I'll restore whatever you want me to restore and do whatever you want me to do. You want me to do this? I'll do it. $90,000 for the music program. You do that, I'll get your bus back. Tell me you want me to do it. $90,000, I'll get your bus back. But 1,000 kids will not have a morning music program and will impact their learning. You tell me what you want. All Crossroads sports, 250 grand. It's a lot of money, we can do that. Cancel Crossroads sports, no more middle school sports. Could do that. We could remove the marching band at the high school for 75 grand. It's a pretty cheap deal. Could do that. It's only an award-winning, one of the best programs in the country, but we can remove that for 75 grand. We can remove the gifted program for elementary kids. Could do that. It's 290. That's a big one. That's a nice one. The school, we can get rid of our security systems. 350 grand there. Could do that. The clubs at the high school, only 250,000 for kids. And let me just tell you, you want me to do it, I'll do it. But I'll tell you, I'll fight you on doing it because sometimes that's the only part of a kid's day that makes them belong to the system that they are when they wake up in the morning. That's what $250,000 gets you. We can cut 1/3 of our high school sports. There's your full 400 right there. Just tell me which ones you want to cut so I know, which ones you want to cut. You want to cut the baseball team, you want to cut the soccer team, tennis, golf, volleyball, football. What do you want to cut? You don't want cheerleaders? Maybe you don't want cheerleaders. Cheerleaders aren't that important. Let's get rid of the cheerleaders. How about the nursing staff? Do we really need a nurse in every building? Maybe we could do a nurse in every 3 buildings. That'll work. Could try it. We can reduce the mental health supports. You know what? Counselors, a lot of counselors. We don't need as many counselors maybe. I don't know. Tell me what you want. I'm open. Here's some other choices you can do. You can cut administration. That's a popular one. Cut administrators. You'll hear that one a lot. Cut administrators. You have too many people with the name superintendent in the title. Yeah, we didn't add any money when we did that, but that's a good one. We can cut superintendents. Sorry, Kim, Evelyn, Suzanne. Of course, none of the work will get done that needs to get done in an 8,000 kid system, but we can do it. You can instead increase your class size. I can do it right now. We can retake those back. I can increase your class size. How big do you want to go? And I'm asking you these questions facetiously, yes. But next year, if nothing changes and we're fighting about tennis courts, we'll be doing this. Parts of all of it. You want to eliminate the security guards? We don't need them. I mean, what's the real chance of something bad happening? Come on. That's 700,000 if we do all of our security guards together. How about the entire instrumental music program? This way, no one has to carry an instrument to school on a bus or walk with it. Just get rid of it altogether. You'll find your whole nut right there. Go further. Maybe 15% wasn't enough for you. Why don't you get rid of 30% for mental health? Why don't we cut more of the sports? How high do you want to charge a family to have their kid in the chess club? By the way, just so you know, guys, we have a chess club. Remember the boy that came? He got himself a chess club. Good kid. Yeah, thank you. Good kid. So I'm going to finish my presentation. Thank you. So we can increase the pay to play. We can increase lunch further. We can increase the summer institute more. We can do it all. We can start charging for the late bus. We can start not having the late bus. All these options are available. But here's the big one. And here's the one I think David and I will be presenting all the facts for you to make a decision come this time next November. Because that's the earliest time we'd be allowed to do this. There's two options on the table that a district can choose to do. So I'm going to spend a little time on this with you. Number one, you can ask the township, that's all the people in the township, not the actual mayor and council. You can go to a vote, and you could put out what's called a second question. You could put out 3 or 4 second questions. I don't know, Dave, you might have done some of those over the years. And you could find out if the town wants to spend money on a specific expenditure. For example, you could say, hey, we would like to fund a world-class pool. That's what we want. We want a pool. You'd go to the town, and during November, during the elections, they would have a ballot question. And the question would say, do you vote yes or no on a pool? If they vote yes, the township now will raise the money that was put into that line for the district to get a pool. And that money will always be in the district's account. And it will always be there for a pool, because it can never be used for anything else. The district can't get the town to agree to buy a pool and then say, we're just kidding, we're not gonna get a pool, we're gonna build a dome for indoor baseball practice. That's what we're gonna do. But we told you it was a pool. Can't do it. It's very legislated, very regulated, very legal. We're gonna propose to you some specific types of questions you might want to consider. Not for November 23, but November 24. The other option, in order to exceed how much you collect in taxes, right now, remember, we only have a 2% allowance on our tax bill. If you want to spend more to fund anything you want, you could move the board elections. You can't move the November elections, but you can move the board elections where they vote for board members from November back to how it was years ago in April. At that time, you also can go out to the community and say, we don't want a 2% increase, we want to raise the taxes by 8%. And if the town votes yes, you would have that money in perpetuity. That's the way that works. That's a big decision. Either one of those have a lot of negatives and pros. David and I are committed this year to give you all of that information, and it'll be very transparent for the whole town to see. It's not gonna be done behind any closed doors or in committee. It'll be done in public so that you can see exactly what it means. We'll tell you the positives, the negatives, the possibilities, and all of it. Because that right now is the only way you can actually get real money. Or all of those things that we talked about. I prefer that way. And then if the town doesn't want you to do what you've suggested, and by the way, when you do that, you ask the town, you talk to the town, you say to the town, here are the kinds of things we're talking about. What are the kinds of priorities you have? So we did that, remember, we did. And the town told us the main priorities, core four. The core four priorities, academics, safety, security, mental health, extracurricular activities. That's what we guard against. Those are the big four, right? So we do all of these things to guard against that. And that's what I'm happy to now move us shortly to where I can tell you how that's going. I want to just share a quick one about the ebb and the flow of a school district. The reality is we're not a finite, static organization. We just went through COVID. Everybody went through COVID. It's not like South Brunswick by itself, but education went through COVID. All kinds of impact, all kinds of impact. We had to navigate the immediacy of it and then the after effects. Some people liked the way we did it, some people didn't. This was an odd district. Even when the schools were fully open for availability, over 70% of the students did not step foot in a school. So it was an interesting situation for this district. Other districts were similar. Some districts were almost the other opposite. 70% were in the schools and only a few percent were out. Whatever happened, whoever you want to blame, and I'll be glad to take whatever blame anyone wants to give, we are where we are. And we worked with the rules we had at the time. But that's a big thing. So that's impacted the district. Our financial cuts, our neighbors. Edison just got $25 million last year alone. South Plainfield is this big compared to us. It got $7 million last year. North Brunswick got $6 million 4 years in a row. I don't even want to talk about Newark's $400 million. We lost money. So our financial cuts are real. They are directly targeted to having less money to do the same thing, compounded by a 2% cap, which never covers enough money to run from one year to the next. There's an educator shortage. We're all impacted. There were driver shortages. We manage those. We're dealing with the highest inflation in years. We have to manage student interest. So here's an example, student interest. So another thing, and again, social media has its positives, but OMG, sometimes it does not. So I think we were getting beat up because one sport, not even the whole sport, freshman baseball, we didn't have enough student interest. We had some, not enough to run a team. So people are using that as like, look how horrible the school district is. They stopped freshman baseball. Really? Is that even serious? Like, is that someone even speaking seriously about stuff like that? Come on. There's real stuff. You can complain about lots of things, but that, please, do better. Assessing effectiveness and efficiencies, right? So the way any organization runs, you don't sit static. You assess yourself. You ask questions. Are these the right ways to do things? Can we make changes? Listen, as much as I know people in this audience do not want to hear about it, we did a line item audit of our routes and found what we found. I know it's not popular by any stretch of the people in this room or anybody. No one wants to do anything that negatively hurts anybody. But we do this work on the whole district all the time. I can give you some examples. So athletics, for example, I just told you about high school. We didn't have an interest for a freshman team, but I'll show you what we do have. Track, there is major interest. We have so many kids running track that we have to hire extra people to do that. There's an area that might have to go. Maybe we won't be able to hire extra people to have so many kids run track, which means those kids will not be able to have that experience, will not be able to belong to something that important in their lives because they're not fast enough. We open it to let kids be part of it. Middle school athletics, it's a lot of interest, and we do our best to come. We have a wide variety. We have tennis teams. We have 2 tennis teams for boys and girls at the high school, and we do a lot. Now, let me just touch base on tennis for a minute, because it's another area which, is I don't know what to tell you. So, did you guys see? I think we sent it around to you. Did you see? I don't know if Jim Ryan, are you in the audience today? No. So, was it last week, Dave? 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago. So you might know that REC uses our facilities for various things, the government body in township. So the REC program has adult basketball in our high school. And last week or the week before, during a REC basketball program, a man collapsed with what seemed to be heart failure. While playing basketball, he was sitting down, but during that event, fortunately, We have AED defibrillators that are hung outside of certain places in the district. There was a fireman on site, and the fireman revived this person and kept him alive. This is the second time this year alone where 2 people associated with the school almost died that were saved through CPR or AED. Right now, just so you know, Jim Ryan and I are talking about how we, in this district, can create a program where throughout student schooling, they will have access to getting CPR training, maybe not fully certified, but CPR training. 2 people. Yeah. But let me talk more about this for a second. REC uses our facility and provides us a certificate of insurance, which indemnifies the school district from harm or suit. Why is that important? Because this is the second time that no involvement of the school district, a person almost died. Although the first time the person did die. On the bleachers at the high school, someone just using the facility without permission died. You know what that does to your insurance and to your cost? The second that happens, it's hard enough and bad enough that someone dies. Oh my God, that's already traumatic enough. But now our taxpayers pay for the district to manage the situation. I'm telling you, if you want to open that track, you terminate me first. I'm not opening the track. You can get 5 people on the board, 5 people in the community that want to put the district at risk, fine. I'm not going to do it. You can overrule me. You don't do things that put the district in harm's way because somebody finds it convenient. We don't deal in convenience. You know why the track is there? Does anyone know why the track is there? For the kids during school. That's why you built the track. That's what you collected the money for. That's what the track is for. You know where else that is? Tennis courts. You can't just open the tennis courts and let people use the tennis courts. You know, there are people out there that want to use you know why they want to use the tennis courts? We found this out. They want to charge people so they could teach them and charge them on our tennis courts, and they don't want to pay. Explain to me the concept of someone fighting with us to open a tennis court, to go into it, because I don't want to pay, I want it for free, so I could charge people and make money as a tennis instructor. That's what we're dealing with right now. That is factual information. They want to challenge it? Come to the podium when it's time. I'll be glad to have that conversation. But here's the situation. If we open those courts, and let's say the same exact thing, oh, by the way, the person at REC that almost died was a West Windsor Plainsboro person, not a South Brunswick person. So we open the tennis courts, open the track, open whatever you want. Why don't we open the school? People let them walk in and use whatever they want. Why not? Much better plan. Tennis courts are the school property. Something happens on that tennis court, whether you like it or not, you're responsible. Unless you're indemnified. So, and we've told people this before, the courts are available to rent. What is it, Dave? $25 an hour?
Court, there's 4 courts.
$25 an hour to rent the tennis courts. Go on to Facilitron, sign up and play tennis. Bring your certificate of insurance. Then we're indemnified. Now there's no problem. That's how you protect the district. Protect the district. Taxpayer money. Taxpayer money. Not my money, not your money. That's why we do what we do. Crossroads Language Arts. This is a question that's come up over the years. So what we do is we look at our systems and we evaluate our systems to see, is what we're doing working to the best of its ability? One of them was in 7th grade and 8th grade Crossroads, we did something called language advance, I don't know what it was called, language enrichment? Language enrichment. And so what happened was certain kids went into this class and certain kids went into this class. So what we did is we did a full analysis to see what happened to the students that were in that program versus what happened to the students that were not in that program. Well, what we found was there was virtually no difference to those students once they got to high school. So then you do a little research and homogeneous grouping students where you take the stronger students and everybody else doesn't have that, that's not good instruction. So we said, all right, would there be a change if we did it this way? We thought, no, there wouldn't be. And so far, there isn't. So this is just when I talk about the ebb and flow of a school district, looking at efficiencies and how we operate. This is what I'm talking about. We don't just sit static. We have work to do. We have a lot of work, and we have to make some hard decisions, and ones that obviously not everyone loves. Wish we didn't have to do that. That would make my life a lot easier. Those are a couple examples. I can go on, but I'm not going to go on and keep you here all night. So with all that said, with all the money lost, with everything that we've talked about so far, now it's time to see, wow, look at still how amazing this staff and these kids and these families are in this district. Look at what you guys have. Look at this. Here's what we've preserved. Our school security is intact. On top of what we talked about, we also put vestibules and doubled down on our security to enter our buildings. Amazing. Our mental health supports, we've done a tremendous amount with that. We continue to. We've increased supports there. Our academic program is still second to none. Well, that's not true. There are people that are better, I'm sure. But we do a heck of a job with our kids. Their options are amazing. They get great things. There's a product right over there sitting on the board. Look at that. Alicia's over there. She's one of our great students. We have amazing things happening here. And I'm proud of all the work that happens for these kids and that we're able to maintain it through all this crazy. We're still maintaining all this. Our academic program is basically untouched except for improvements, which I'll talk about. Improvements over all of this. We have a wide range of advanced placement, more than most. Our extracurriculars, I'm going to go over them and show them to you, are tremendous in both the middle schools and the high schools. Our arts program, again, find a better music program in the state, in the East Coast, maybe in the country. Good luck. From start to finish, these kids are amazing. Our teachers are amazing. Our families support them. Unbelievable, unbelievable model. Our class size, I'd love to hope we can keep it, but that's something I'm very concerned about going into next year. Other thing, just so everyone's aware, the debt that the taxpayers pay has only decreased every year for 6 years. We have not added any new debt to this district. That is pretty impressive for a 6-year period of time. Also, the healthcare costs are flat. Good luck finding a district that has flat healthcare costs. Ain't gonna happen. So yes, we invested money to save money, which is a business mentality, which if you don't apply a business mentality in a district where you're losing funding every year, you simply would just be cutting all the cuts that I'm talking about that are possible down the line, you would have done them already. You would have just had to do them already. You would never be able to salvage anything without doing all the things we've done. Some more, with full implementation of the one-to-one program. While the money came from somebody else, we still had to implement. So our team did a great job. We did the 7 security guards. We had 0 back in the 2016-17 school year. We hardened the district like with those vestibules. We did the largest ESIP project in the state of New Jersey school district, $27 million. That is both improvement of the quality as well as saving cost over time. But no one seems to care about this one. They want to focus on the healthcare. That's one we don't understand. Spent $27 million bonded on that project. $27 million. But that seems to be okay with people. So the people that want to ask questions, please ask questions about that one, because I don't know why you keep talking about the healthcare one. That one's kind of boring at this point. But the ESIP project was $27 million, and right now we're looking at the possibility of one day maybe having no energy costs. Thank that guy over there if we can get that done. Cool stuff. The healthcare center. We have flat healthcare costs and better healthcare for our staff, which is better for students. You're welcome. Everybody, you're welcome for this. This is not easy. Our preschool, this lady right here, Suzanne, right here, basically, I don't think slept for 2 or 3 months because of this thing. We could have easily taken the easy way out, which many districts did, and said, this is crazy, who would do this? We didn't do that, not for the money, for the families, for the kids, and for this community. You now have a free, full-day preschool program. That is amazing. But that is a pain in the patootie. Every day, that's a pain in the patootie. But we do it because that's what this community deserves to have happen for it. And we still have one of the top 10 SAT scores in the state. So again, Instead of talking about rankings, but, well, we found this one ranking, school diggers, we found it, and it says you're horrible. So you must be horrible, and also your teachers are horrible. This is what's going on in social media. So all of a sudden, because we took away 250 students' buses, now teachers are horrible, the district is horrible, all of you are devils. I can't even know what I am. I've got to be worse than a devil, I'm imagining at this point. And we are horrible, our scores stink, we're bad district. Oh, except a objective measure would be SAT scores. That's not like niche rankings just said we're number one. 12th, number one in the county, 12th in the state. That's niche rankings out this week. Yay, big deal. Can't argue SAT scores. I can argue niche rankings all day. I have no idea what they do. I have no idea what School Diggers does. I have no idea. There's 100 of these places. But you can go by that one. We managed the loss of these massive state aid cuts without hurting the academic excellence, the extracurriculars, the class size, and the operational needs of this district. You might not think that's a big deal because it wasn't perfect and not everybody comes out a winner. I get that, and I empathize for that. But we're doing the best we can. And I know well, no, you're not. You could have done something else. Or no, you're not. I could do it better because I know this and I know that. Well, I don't know what to tell you. We're doing the best we can. And I am darn proud of where we are with this district and this staff and the people and this community, these families, these kids. We went through COVID. Everyone did, but we did as well. We've been recognized for having a high school of character 5 consecutive years. The championships in sports, music, and clubs is off the charts. I'm not even going to list them all. We have a 98% graduation rate. We just created an in-house special education program to service more students in the elementaries. And on the other end, we built an entire 18 to 21-year-old program that eventually will make us money. But forget the money, it's better for kids. We have an art gallery, which is awesome. You should see it. And we had 2 kids who won a congressional art competition. Amazing. Our robotics this last year was awesome. We had 6 teams. 5 of them went to the quarterfinals, 2 to the semifinals, 1 all the way to the end. Pretty cool. Again, this list, let me tell you, this could be another hour of just this list. I could go on. But a few, the high school wind ensemble, the theater folks, the choirs, the marching band, I mean, on and on and on, how amazing these kids are. Then go to the academic side and look at the Merit Scholars we have. Come to a Merit Scholar meeting in February and March. It's so much fun to have these kids, 73 kids. We went up. So the conversation out there is the district is failing and falling. Well, I guess except the fact that we're improving. Other than that, we're really not doing well, the improvement thing, because of one thing that other people are using to make a case. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I really do. I get it. It's tiring, but I get it. I do. We had 7 of our minority students get recognized for their PSAT and AP exams. Look at the options these kids have. We have 532 Honor Society kids. That's insane. We have 5,000 hours of service. These kids are amazing. They are amazing. Then look at all the different honor societies they can join. Now, why does this matter? Because this helps them build up their high school resume for college applications. This is what we're preserving. This is why we come here, so that our kids can have these things, that we can afford to pay for an honor society, math honor society advisor. Stuff has to cost money, so we have to prioritize. And I wish I could prioritize to make every single person happy. I wish. I would love to. Look at our high school sports. So back to that, oh no, freshman baseball. I wish we still had freshman baseball. But we still have it in football, we still have it in basketball, we still have it in soccer, we still have it in volleyball. I'm sorry, it's not more. But look, this is what our kids have options to do. This is not cheap, this is expensive. What it means, by the way, is V is varsity, JV is junior varsity, and 9 is freshman. This is just high school. So I split up for you by boys and girls, so you can see the offerings that exist for these kids. And again, look at the bottom of those, Unified Sports and Special Olympics. If you haven't been to a unified event, go. Make sure you get to a unified event next year, I'm telling you. Most heartwarming thing you're gonna be part of. And that's a whole bunch of staff who do that, amazing kids and their families, and the police come out and help us with that. Jim Ryan's a big time player for all that. I just want to repeat again about sports. And sometimes sports are the one thing that helps a student get through their schooling. That's not a made up, that is real. So, this is what we have to do for our kids. And in middle school, it's no slouch list either. A and B is you have an A team and a B team, kind of what it sounds like. It lets us get more kids involved. Expensive. It's cheaper to just have an A team. Cheaper not have it at all. I think $250,000. But all of these things, again, gives middle schools the opportunity to see what they might like, try out things, get involved. That's why we don't want to limit. Middle school is the years where you just want to try things and get to know what might work for you. Those are our sports. Look at the clubs. Look at that one over there on the left, chess club, new chess club, because one student came and he just convinced the leadership at the high school that you have to do this. I know he wants to do more too. He wants to do more with our elementary schools. So we're gonna, he wrote us a nice letter, but we're gonna make him work for that. But again, some of these things are the reason kids wake up in the morning. That's sad to think, but it's true. The amount of leadership that happens here, the amount of great things that come out of these clubs, this is special. And, having a large high school, this is an advantage you get when you have a large high school. This is a very large list of clubs that doesn't exist in smaller systems because they can't. They don't have the interest. And let me tell you, so when someone decides to say, but you don't have the club you had 14 years ago, I think it was ski club. Ski club used to be in the high school back in 2011 or 2012. The people that ran it don't remember when it stopped. But that's a reason the district is also horrible, because ski club went away. I got that one a few times as well. Ski club. Really? Do you see what we're dealing with? And I got to worry about someone saying, you're a horrible district because of ski club. Ski club has not been in the district since I've been here. So I don't know what to tell you. I'll take the blame for it. I'm sorry it's gone. It was an interest. We checked. It was interest. There wasn't the interest, the expense, the liabilities, all kinds of reasons. But, sorry ski club is gone. I wish it wasn't. With all that said, people, we're not perfect. We have issues, and we have things we want to focus upon. So we want to create opportunities for more students to take more advanced classes. We want to improve all the academics in the district and keep improving. That's why Evelyn worked with her team and revised 123 curriculums this summer. We have to continuously support our kids that suffered through COVID. Kids suffered. And you look at our preschoolers right now. If you can imagine a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old right now, so if you can do this, even people in the audience, just think for a second. So when they were born or one, what was going on in the world? There are people that might not have seen other kids for like a year. Imagine what that does to their development when they miss that year, right? Play dates and all that. So it's a challenge in the early grades with behaviors and then managing, and just it's a different upbringing than the students had 5 and 10 years ago. So it has impact. The mental health work, we have a lot to do. We're continuing. We're very concerned right now about the Bridge Academy and how we're going to solve this. I don't know where we're getting $250,000. I don't know. We're playing around options right now, but we don't have any really good ones. All the new loss that's coming down the pike, we have to figure out how to manage it. So this year, everyone's going to have the same goal of working on how they optimize their specific systems, right? How do we do that? How do we make sure that everybody's system is managed to a degree? I mean, that's really, really, really important stuff. Then the big one, advocating for restored funding and no further cuts. They owe us $9 million. We'll take half. Okay, I'll take no more cuts. Don't know. A lot to do there. We want to continue to grow our preschool program. That means more families get free preschool, saving thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for those families. We want to identify more revenue generators so we can help solve the issues on that side. But again, all of our revenue generators, for the most part, are charging our families more money. Not exactly the way you want to do business. And then again, another one to solve what we believe is going to be a long-term staffing crisis. This is not a one and done. How do we create systems for homegrown future staff? How do we start thinking about creating people that want to work in our schools now? That's an important process. So, I know a lot, I get a little excited about all this. Some of this stuff it's getting frustrating to do this year after year after year after year. But, thank goodness we have an amazing team amazing board and amazing families. Even when they're mad at me, they're amazing families and amazing students who come here every day to learn, and we appreciate you. And I know you guys are mad at me. I appreciate you anyway, and appreciate the support you've given the district. I'm sure before this decision, you were big supporters of the district. You might not be today, but I know you were. I know maybe you didn't hear anything I said because I'm thinking the only thing you wanted me to say was your bus is back. Sorry, I can't say that. I'm just going to finish. I wish I could say that. With that said, I know it's hard to hear things when other bad things are in place, but we have great people here. I know in this audience, great people, and I am looking forward to this year and coming up with solutions to some of our biggest problems. And I thank the board for all their support and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I want to open it up to the board for any questions for Superintendent Fetter that you might have. To my right, any questions? To my left? Okay. I have just a couple, actually. You had mentioned that we have to obviously look at increasing class sizes if things don't turn the corner. Right now, I believe, and I might be wrong, there's a ratio of 12 students to teachers, to one teacher, 12 students to one teacher. I may have that number wrong.
It's not a number that actually equates to what people think about with size. So
Okay.
I would just say, if you want me to do a full study on all of that, I would give you all the numbers, not just the numbers that go to what a state prints out.
Okay.
There's class size by grade level. There's loads, meaning how
Right.
many counselors to a student, how many nurses to a student, how many administrators to a student. There's a lot that goes into it.
Okay.
So for another day, I can prepare that for
Yeah,
you.
no, I'm trying to get a handle on these numbers. So today's environment, let's just say K through 5. Do we have an idea of what that number is, class size number, and
Yeah.
what it would go to?
Not what it could go to is whatever we decide to make it go to.
Sure, right.
So that isn't an answer. Our numbers are favorable in some places due to, like, I can give you an example, like at Monmouth Junction, we have one grade that has 27 students. So what do? You either have you have a class of 27, or you have two of like 13 or 14.
Right.
So, these are tough decisions, or you have to move kids, which we don't want to do. So class size is complicated. I think it's not a question I can answer now.
Okay, all right. The referendum that you had mentioned to put on in November.
Next November,
Yes, November 2024. At what point do we need to sit down as a committee to discuss moving forward with something like
So
that?
Dave and I will be presenting, starting with the operations and
Okay.
finance, and then the entire board with the framework of what that looks like, what's required. Oh, this is on?
Okay.
What that looks like, how that plays out, and what the board would need to do in the timeline they would need to do it.
Okay. And I apologize, I just want clarification on this bridge program. You had mentioned that we have no support for South right now. What is North? I'm so sorry, North. What is the current cost of bridge?
Bridge at the middle school, I believe, is 300 and about 320,
Okay,
and the high school closer to 400,
okay.
of
So
which we pay 40. Now they're looking at 40%.
we
So-
pay 40% of that.
But last year, we were only charged 140,000. This year, we actually budget 185
Right.
in expectation of something, because they didn't fill one of the positions the whole year. And then they came back this year and told us it would be 325.
Okay. So if we wanted
That just
it,
happened about 8 weeks ago.
so if we want it at North, we have to pay for it.
100% of the cost for
I'm sorry, I
whatever
did it again. My apologies.
What-
We want it
at North.
yeah.
we would cost us, whatever we do would be 100% of the costs.
And that 100% would equate to approximately?
Depends on what you do.
Right, okay. Okay, all right. And I think, go ahead, yeah, sure, go ahead, Ms. Ferrer.
Okay. Keeping in mind everyone that's here tonight for the obvious reason, I just wondered, some of the past conversations you've had with the community have been that maybe we could look for solutions for the courtesy busing issue in terms of perhaps a payment on their end. Have we extinguished all those conversations?
We actually provided that information to families that asked. The numbers are astronomically high. We didn't get anyone who expressed interest in those.
Okay, and the board got that information as well?
Yeah, you were copied on all those.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
okay. Just want to make sure I had all my questions answered. All right, I do. Any other opportunity? Yes, Mr. Nathanson.
Yeah, Scott, you brought up a possibility of moving back to the April election, which gives us the possibility to create our own budgets. Would that be, would we be able to do that in 2024? How does that work, if we wanted to do that option?
I still believe there's time for the April move, David, but we'll check on that to double check. We've gotten mixed information on these questions when we ask the people that should know the direct answers, but we will ask again to give you full timelines before our next meeting on both a second question timeline and a moving the budget to the April election.
Okay, thank you.
It also cuts the board members' time short. That's one of the things that happens, but that's, again, that's not a big deal.
Right. Last opportunity. Julie, sure.
Yeah, again, just asking for clarification on this busing issue. You know, we did have an increase of around, if I'm correct about the budget, we allotted $500,000 for new things. It was a line item. Could you kind of explain why we can't kind of dig into that to possibly meet some of the needs of courtesy busing?
Sure. The monies that went to new were due to things that are required of the district to operate based upon the new things that the state tells us.
These
So,
are state mandated, in other words?
some of them are, not all of them are.
Can you give us an example?
I'll give you an example.
Just for
So,
clarification.
You know, we make a reduction in one place, which comes off of the reduction side, but then have to do an add in the other place. So we had to add a person to do observations. That cost, but we did, instead of adding a full salary with benefits.
Observations are school observations?
Yes.
Okay.
So that was a cost of about 0.6 of a staff member. Some of the other areas, if I gotta dig that up for you. I can dig that up in a second. We have the exact list of what that was. There were educational needs that totaled $480,000. But if you want to give me a second, I can do it.
Okay.
Do you want him to send an email?
You can send it in an email. I'm just trying to gain some clarity on this.
Yeah, so if you think of it, in a school system this size, we normally would be looking to manage quite a larger number of things that need to happen in a year. So we couldn't do that this year. So everything that we did was bare minimum. So that's part of the issue. We are still trying to cut other monies to manage that.
Yes, I'm just trying to help the public understand
Yep.
how we add new things into our budget, but take something away that we really prove that to them that this is what we say it is.
Sure, yep. Let me see if I can dig it up if there are any more questions, and I'll keep looking for this anyway. I can tell you tonight
Any more
while we have
questions?
people in the audience.
No? I do want to make a comment. You know, you had said about COVID. I was on vacation with my family, and we met a family that had a 4-year-old, and the 4-year-old never knew anybody without a mask. And the first time they met people with a mask on, they actually started crying, and it broke my heart. So we still have some work to do there. You know, it's really been a tough couple years. That was my PSA. I'll wait for Scott.
Yeah, David's correct. Second, sorry, everybody.
You want to go up? So we'll do you next. You can wait if you want. Okay.
Does anyone else have any other questions I can answer while,
No. Do you want to?
hold on, I might have it
Okay.
here. David gave me an idea of where it was.
I do have a question again, too. I'm sorry. If we do have to start cutting next, not this year, but the next school year, will there be a group of public and the board and the administration to decide on what we're cutting? Or will it just be strictly the board that makes those
So
decisions?
in this particular case, what I've been brainstorming, speaking about a little bit,
Okay.
is the idea of, last year we did a committee. This year, the idea, if we get to this point, right?
Right.
Even before we get to the point, let's
Well,
be
you
prepared.
sound pretty convinced.
Let's
that-
be prepared.
Yeah.
So to put out a usable survey of information. that-
Yes.
And you have to put out, you have to explain it in a way. So am I thinking not only a survey, because people won't understand all the complexities, but possibly even a video explaining what each of those things could look like, so that
Okay.
people can be very informed, and then take that information for the board to consider how it prioritizes its systems. For example,
And then just
do you
inform
want to
the
have less
public.
sports or less academics, less academic gifted programs? Like, which one would you want, right?
Or less clubs, or?
Less clubs. So you wouldn't ask it that way, but you would ask a prioritizing process to get that, so the board had all that information. So again, it's complex how to do it, but yeah, we could do it. So I can answer your question now?
Okay, great, thanks.
So we added a special education class, actually two, in the Brooks Crossing. So what that does, and this is why it's hard to say, but you spent new money, so I really appreciate the question.
Yeah.
I had done this at a budget meeting already, so I'm going to do it again now.
Okay,
The special education class we put in costs money,
great.
but it also allowed us to educate kids that were out of district placements back in the district. So for example, two of the students had tuition being paid by we have to pay both the transportation and the tuition of a student that goes to an out of district placement. So those two students alone, coming back, starts to offset the money. So while it shows up in a new expenditure, if we showed you the whole budget, you would see that the tuition line went down by a very large sum of money. The net is different, but you would see the two new staff members, actually 5 new staff members for these two classes, as a new expenditure. So the new expenditure of 200 is our offset total cost of money that used to cost us probably about $500,000, but that $500,000 comes off, 200 goes on, or reverse. There's still a cost to the district, but it's a net, not nearly what the whole program would cost. The other savings, which you can't see in year one, is, let's say there's a student that would benefit by this class, that last year would not have had the ability to have that class and would have had to go out of district. That would now not happen, therefore the future savings also exist. So it's hard to explain, but that was one. We needed $65,000 to lease new textbooks. That's the mandated stuff that we had to do to cover that. That could have cost a lot more, but David pulled off his magic tricks and did a lease purchase for the books, which is a $65,000 investment every year for, is it a 5-year?
Yeah.
A lease purchase for 5 years to buy the textbooks. We added $100,000 in security, $70,000 in social emotional health. We needed another interventionist at the middle school. So even though we cut other positions, and this is why it's hard to, you cut other positions, but we still needed a new position there because that position was funded through the federal ESSER monies. The ESSER monies continuously are running out. Next year this is the last year for ESSER monies. So it currently pays for 6 staff members. On top of everything else I've shared, that money runs out from the federal government. So add those 6, to things we have to figure out how we do. But that's for supporting middle school kids who need support. And then you heard 123 curriculum revisions. That took about 50 grand out of Evelyn's salary line to make happen. So altogether, that's your $570,000 of new dollars, even though some of that's offset by the reduced tuition accounts.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you very much
Got
for
it.
that complete update. Truly appreciate it. Okay, next we will be moving on to a presentation from Suzanne Luckborn, who will be going over the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, which is now called NJGPA, and the Spring 2023 results. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers, board, and guests here this evening. I'm sure when you came to our board meeting, you were so much looking forward to hearing how we did on our NJGPA, but I will share that we are mandated to report out 60 days after receiving those scores. So we are doing so this evening. So as Lisa said, this is the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, NJGPA. It is a fairly new assessment. When administered 2 years ago, it was a field test for the students that just graduated, class of 2023. But for the class of 2024, this has become one of the required assessments. I want to thank Jamie Bomer, Director of Special Projects, who partnered with me as the district test coordinator. You're required to have a district test coordinator. Sharon Johnson, our Director of Technology. This is an online assessment. She has a team of tech that supported us here at the high school on the days of testing. Jeff Ruman, who is the assistant principal here, is the school test coordinator who scheduled and helped to administer this test, and his team here at the high school along with the teachers. It is a collective effort that takes months to pull off a test that takes a week. So it is for juniors. Students are tested in English language arts and mathematics. There are 2 units, 90 minutes for each session, so we do that over 4 days. In English language arts, it assesses the 10th grade English standards, and in math, it assesses the Algebra 1 and geometry standards. A passing score on each is 725. So I shared this slide. There's a lot of words on here, but what I want to explain is that students must show proficiency on a graduation assessment to graduate. That's in addition to the course credits that are required. So students have an opportunity. They sat in March of 2023 for this year's seniors. If they receive that score of 725, they're good to go in terms of the assessment requirement. If they did not pass one or both of those content areas, they have another opportunity this October to retake that assessment. If they are still unsuccessful, then there are alternate pathways that open up for our students, and the next slide's going to show you some of those options. If they are unsuccessful after those options, there's a third pathway, which is called a portfolio appeal, that students will participate in and then be assessed. So we do many different things to help our students here reach that graduation assessment requirement. So the second pathway, if you have students who have graduated in previous years, some of these assessments may be familiar to you. I'm not going to read them all, but I'll give examples. The PSAT, the SAT, AccuPlacer, or ACT, and there's different measures based on ELA, which is the English Language Arts, or the mathematics. I will tell you that the counseling staff here at SBHS, along with the administrators, go hand by hand for each student to make sure that they are on track and there are no last minute, once they meet that halfway point of the school year, we know who those students are. So if we did have students this year who are not on track, those families will receive a specific letter in the opening weeks of the school year letting the families know, and then students will take that assessment in October. The scores were already posted to the Genesis Parent Portal for all of our students. Now I want to share with you how South Brunswick did in comparison to the state and some of our subgroups. That is part of the requirement that we share out. So this first graphic shows you our English Language Arts. Remember, that was assessing our 10th grade standards. And the blue shows us the percentage of students that are graduation ready, which means they earned that 725 or higher, and the not graduation ready. So if you look to the far left, the English Language Arts South Brunswick, 93% of our students have already achieved that pathway for graduation assessment requirement, and we have 7% that we need to work with another retake of the test or alternate pathways. If you compare us to the state of New Jersey, you can see that New Jersey, 80% were graduation ready on the ELA. So 80 for the state and 93% for our students here at SBHS. The other measures here show you some of the various subgroups, some of our demographic groups that we're looking at. And so you can see the Hispanic, our Asian, our Black, and our white population. And these are the subgroups reported because the sample size is large enough for us to share. For example, our multi-race is held back because we don't have enough to show that it would be easy to identify who some of those students might be. Economically disadvantaged, and then the SWD is our students with disabilities. And you can see that students with disabilities, we have 38% that have not yet passed that ELA. So our special education supervisors, the teachers, the case managers, and again, those counselors are working with those particular students on what we need to do to help them meet those requirements. And the last slide I have to share with you is the mathematics. Again, remember, this was our juniors last March who participated. It was assessing their Algebra 1 and geometry standards. You can see a little bit of a dip here in mathematics, just in the comparison with the ELA. So 81% of our students were graduation ready on that metric, and 19% will need to take a retake or open those alternate pathways. I found the New Jersey numbers a little bit interesting here, where you see that not quite half of the state wasn't ready in the area of mathematics, 44%. Again, the same subgroups are represented there. For each of those groups, like I said, our counselors are working with those students and will notify families, and we will do what we need to do to help them pass that requirement. And that completes my report. If there are questions or comments.
Any questions from the board? Am I right? Left? Oh, Ms. Marrera.
Sorry to be a
That's
little
okay.
vocal tonight. So obviously, this is something that really concerns me, having been a sub in the district for 20 plus years. What can we do to help the more disadvantaged groups in that, especially in math? We need some kind of forum to, and I have suggested, groupings or tasks that might incentivize some of these people to learn some of the more basic concepts along the way and get their performance up.
I think you're hitting on a point that the staff grapples with as well.
Okay.
And it is spending time not only looking at our curriculum and our strategies, but also looking at the students and how they performed, and maybe where were their strengths versus weaknesses that we could capitalize on. So
Or how can they be motivated?
that, sometimes we have students that just aren't test takers as
Right.
well. That's very
Right. True.
stressful. So
Right.
I think as a district, we owe it to the students to work with them and know their individuals. So when we look at results, we look at that as one data point. And that's a heavily weighted data point, right? When it's something for graduation. But we look at that data point. In addition, we look at performance in the classroom. And that's where the teachers are able to differentiate and program for students. So there's additional support classes, there's one-on-one time with teachers, and ways to try to motivate. But that always is the hook. How do you get them to be invested in showing us what they know?
Just think, Julie.
Yes.
Sorry. One of the things that we have a little concern with, outside of the obvious of the disaggregated data, is that a test is being used to decide if someone should graduate, where 44% of the entire state failed.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you talk about validity of a test, so how valid is a test where half your state can't pass it? What is it about the test? Which we don't know.
Good question.
So, it's one of those things when you think about standardized testing we have to address. With that said, you can see that certain subgroups did much better than other subgroups. So it's still, the question is extremely valid into how do we do that. One of the things we are doing is looking at how we look at access to programming.
Right.
To make sure that students have access to the type of programming. The biggest fear, that runs into this is when you start cutting staff and these teachers that do these supports, how do you do that, right? Because if we have to cut those 6 teachers I mentioned that were part of the ESSER funding that dies at the end of this year, they're all supporting struggling learners, all 6 of those teachers. So when that money goes away, what do? If we want to take those 6 teachers and put them into the operating budget, that means, $500,000 has to come from somewhere else. And those are the real scary things, right? Because that money is definitely gone. That one isn't even a question. That's ESSER money from the federal government that dries up after the school year. There's no question of those. So again, we start the year trying to answer your question, knowing we are losing 6 of those support pieces
Next year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
I just want to comment as well, Julie, and then I have a question. To Scott's point, we've been dealing with this since God knows how long, right? The standardized testing. We had Park several years ago where somebody decided just to throw a dart at the Department of Education as to where the line is for a passing score. And I believe that's exactly what happened again here. Somebody somewhere in some office comes up with a 725-point line. Well, how did you get to that? Who decided that a passing score is 725? And that's the big question that they just can't answer. They didn't answer it with Park. They didn't answer it here. The good news is the testing has diminished in terms of hours. Where Park was, correct me if I'm wrong, 13 hours for a child to take testing. And now we're down to 3, I believe, or
This one was,
90 minutes each?
this was 4 90-minute.
4 90 minutes, right. So there's been a lot of public outcry on this, and thank God they're listening, but they're still not where they need to be, because to Scott's point, right, you've got kids that just are horrible test takers, and thank goodness they kept the ability to do a portfolio review, because they were going to get rid of that too. So now you're impacting kids that can't test well, but they've got great grades with their teachers, or a BC student that's an average student. So it's...
We also have issues with vernacular for those populations.
Correct.
On the tests themselves.
Correct. Yep. That's actually absolutely 100% correct. I just want to be clear on one thing. The special ed students, they have to take the same test.
As long as their IEP doesn't exempt them from it,
Okay.
correct?
Exempt. Okay. Do we know what the state number is in that area?
No, it doesn't work that
They
way.
don't do that. They don't provide that.
No, we
Yeah,
were
I-
required to report out on South
Yeah,
Brunswick.
but the state doesn't.
But the state has
Yeah.
not released how each of
Okay.
those groups did.
They just give us that overall picture. Okay. And one final question. During the Park testing, it was my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the Algebra 1 tests were being given to multiple grades because you had some students in Algebra, excuse me, let me restate that. You have some students that are in 9th and 10th that are taking Algebra 1, or 8th grade that are taking Algebra 1. By the time they get to junior year, they might be at calculus.
No, so.
So
Are they still they're
So
still
what
taking that
happens when you
test?
look at math is, you're doing that, so it's a,
You've got students that are in calculus taking an Algebra 1 class, test.
because it's the junior test.
Right, it's a junior test.
Correct.
Okay.
By the
That kind
time
of-
you sit in your junior year, your math may have surpassed that, or you may still be in that geometry level class.
The Geometry
Correct.
4 class, right, okay. Any other questions? No? Very good, thank you so much. We appreciate the update. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the reading of the policy 1642.01 on sick leave. The chair of the policy committee is on vacation, so I'll ask Dave to update us.
So the policy committee met on the 14th, and in attendance was Deepa Karthik, Alicia Khan, Mike Mitchell, Scott Fetter, Kim Malloy White, myself, David Pulowski, business administrator. We reviewed the policy 1642, sick leave. It's on our agenda tonight for a first read, which means it will be on for second read and adoption at our next board meeting. So please, when you have a moment, take a look at it. We reviewed points in this policy that will make the most impact on district operations. Currently, we're still working with our district attorney to determine language that protects the district while ensuring the district meets the expectations of the law and the policy. The committee made recommendations on the number of days notice required prior to taking a leave of absence in a foreseeable and a not foreseeable situation. So more to come on sick leave. But please take a moment and review your sick leave policy 1642.
Thank you. Okay, next order is to hear reports of the committees and the board liaisons. The chair of the Education Committee is also on vacation today, and I do know that we have scheduled an Education Committee meeting. It's coming up. That's been completed. Business operations, there's no report on business operations. August, or is there? No. August has been a quiet month, as well as finance and negotiations. Are there, and there's no liaison reports because the schools were closed over the summer, so that was easy. So we will move on.
Oh, we got policy.
We have policy.
There's another policy on your agenda for adoption.
My apologies.
Yep. So let me keep going.
We do have a policy adoption, so go ahead.
So on the 14th, the policy committee also discussed policy 2419. It's a school threat assessment team. This is a mandatory policy, requires adoption. Policy of the purpose of the threat assessment team is to provide school teachers, administrators, and other staff with assistance in identifying students of concern, assessing those students' risks for engaging in violence and/or harmful activities, and delivering intervention strategies to manage the risk of harm for students who pose a potential safety risk, prevent targeted violence in schools, and ensure a safe and secure school environment that enhances the learning experiences for all members of the school community. South Brunswick Schools already employs much of this policy and is working to implement the remainder on a timeline directed by the Department of Education. Please know that we just received the proposed regulation to this policy, and we're reviewing it for the next policy committee meeting. We are adopting tonight, as the law requires this policy be implemented prior to the start of the school year. So there's still work to be done on this, but as per statute, we need to adopt tonight.
Thank you. And that adoption is number 1.13 on the consent agenda, if you have any questions on that. Thank you, Dave.
You got it.
All right. Next is public comments on agenda items only. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Complete copies of the rules that govern this portion of the meeting are available to the public at the back of the room, online, or you can obtain an advance copy by contacting the board office during regular business hours. We reserve the right to limit each speaker to no more than 3 minutes. Mr. Polowski will indicate when you have 15 seconds remaining. It is our plan to listen to each member of the public. We will note all questions and comments made. Once all questions and comments from all members of the public are made, the Board of Education will respond, if necessary, to questions or comments in the most timely and efficient manner available. Please consider not repeating questions or comments made by other members of the public. When recognized, please approach the podium and state and spell your name, place of residence, and/or your group affiliation. The first public comment is for agenda items only. There will be a second opportunity for the public to comment on any matter. I do not believe we have any members registered for the public for the first public comment. Are there any audience members who wish to make a public on, are there any audience members who wish to make a public comment on agenda items only? Please raise your hand. Ma'am? The agenda that we have, that was printed out, if there's any comments that you want to make on the agenda that we just went through, the minutes, the report of the school superintendent, the New Jersey proficiency assessment, the reading of the policy.
No, it's actually,
It's
it's
like
actually.
consent
it's
agenda.
just the
Sorry, just the agenda,
Just
yeah.
the agenda. Yes.
I can't hear you, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Yes, there's a second public
Yes,
comment
as I
for-
stated,
yes.
there's a second public comment. Thank you. No public comments for the first reading, for the first public comments. Very good. Next order of business is old business and the board. Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see you back there. Please step to the podium.
Again, please state your name, spell your name, any affiliation, and your address.
Hello, Steve Garwood, 80 West Countryside Drive, Princeton, New Jersey, up in the Princeton Walk area, and no affiliations.
Could you please just spell your name, please?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Steve, S-T-E-V-E, Garwood, G-A-R-W-O-O-D.
Thank you.
So first, I'd like to thank Scott for yet another very detailed explanation of the situation of the finances and what we're doing to get past that. I know that Scott and our board have aggressively lobbied Trenton to correct the funding insanity we're experiencing.
Oh, sir,
This is-
I'm so sorry, Mr. Garwood. This actually is not on the agenda items, but this can be discussed over the
Okay.
second public comment, unless you had something to address.
On the transportation?
Oh, you want to wait?
Transportation,
Nope,
not on the
not yet.
Oh, I thought-
He just gave an overview.
I just.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, well, we absolutely can come up for the second public
Then I'll
comment.
come up for the second, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, sorry about that. All right, the board also has finalized the 2023-2024 board goals. These goals have been provided to all the board members. Just to highlight the three, I'm not going to go into the tactics associated with the goals, but the three main goals will be continue to address the fiscal challenges. There's 4 tactics associated with that. Improve stakeholder communication. There's 4 tactics associated with that. And improve committee effectiveness. There are 3 tactics associated with that. The board goals will be placed on the website under the Board of Education if anyone from the community is interested. Does anybody have any comments or questions on board goals? To my right? Left? Very good. So I do need a motion to pass the board goals. Mr. Nathanson is primary, and Mr. Mike Mitchell is second. Any discussion? Nope. All in favor? Aye. Any nay? Very good. The 2023-2024 goals have passed. Okay, next order of business is new business. We see none, so we shall move on to the next order, which is the consent to review by Mr. Pulowski. Mr. Pulowski.
So we have a consent agenda tonight that includes all of our motions 1-1 through 1-4, which is our adoption of the bills list, approval of financials, and accepting of a donation, financials. We have a transportation contract with a parent in the community. We're recording and awarding proposals for nursing services and for evaluation services. Explained a lot of that in our board update. You can see the awarded vendors in the first and second position throughout the next couple pages. And on page 6, you'll see vendors for nursing services. It's the same kind of layout and design on that motion. Motion 1-7 is an appointment of an energy savings improvement plan consulting. This talks to our ESIP project and our consultants that continue to work with us and saving us money with our energy services. We're approving an authorization to sale or disposal of property in 1-8, and we're also doing that in 1-9. We have technology and some outdated materials. We also have an approval adoption of a revised curriculum. We have a 5-year curriculum cycle, and we're doing a virtual remote instructional plan, second reading and adoption of our threat assessment policy. We're approving the travel. We also have a harassment, intimidation, bullying report, a student field trip report. We're looking at approving professional services for special education teachers for substitutes that we can find outside the district. We have an alternate toileting facilities approval that we have to do each year. This is one of those motions that the state requires us to do to make sure that our little ones can make it to the bathroom and be in eyesight at all times so that they don't get lost. So we're approving a sidebar agreement also with the SBEA. We have a separation agreement with an employee that's on file. We have in motion 121, we're approving Deans and Dayton Elementary Schools. Just for clarification for all the board members on this, just be aware that our Deans in Dayton schools are part of campus, what they consider a campus. So when we do our reporting through the buildings and grounds and all of our comprehensive maintenance plans, those two buildings are looked at as part of an elementary campus. This year, we're splitting those schools out. We made them preschools, so now they're standalone schools, and I have to report on those buildings separately because they're considered individual school buildings now. So for us to get an identification code to work with the Department of Education, we have to have a board motion that the board recognizes that those two schools are now standalone schools unto themselves in the township. So that's 121, and we have our board goals and our personnel, and that's your consent agenda.
Does anybody have any questions regarding the consent agenda? I just have one.
Go ahead.
The change of Deans in Dayton, they used to be called Brooks Crossing at Deans Elementary and Indian Fields at Dayton Elementary. They will no longer be referenced to that. They will just be Deans in Dayton.
Elementary schools, yes.
Very good. Thank you.
You got it.
It's been there before.
Yeah,
It's one of
yeah.
those things
It
that
used to
seems
be
to
years
rotate back
ago.
around.
Yeah, years ago it was Deans.
Yep.
All right, may I have a motion and second for consent agenda? Mr. Krishna, motion? Second, Mr. Mitchell. Roll call, Mr. Pulaski.
1 second. Here we go. Ms. Julie Ferrara. Mrs. Alicia Khan.
Yes.
Mr. Raja Krishna. Yes. Mr. Mike Mitchell.
Yes.
Mr. Barry Nathanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Lisa Rogers.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. All right, moving on to the second opportunity for public comments. This is the second opportunity for the public to comment on any matter. You are reminded that the board recognizes the value of comments on educational issues and that you are limited to 3 minutes. Again, at the podium, state your name, spell your name, and announce your place of residence and/or your group affiliation. We do have 3 individuals who have pre-registered, so we will start with those individuals first. I ask that you maybe move down to the podium so it's just easier when the first initial individual is done. The 3 individuals that have pre-registered: Elaine Runyon, Victoria Barone, and Vanita Balani. So Ms. Elaine Runyon. I did, but I just did. Oh, if anyone does have any comments they would want to make after the 3 that are pre-registered, please feel free to move up to the front. Ouch.
Hi, I'm Elaine Runyon, E-L-A-I-N-E, R-U-N-Y-O-N, and I am a resident of South Brunswick in Monmouth Junction. This is basically just really a recap. Can you verify info about the tennis court and track being available to the public? Aren't there many paths and tennis courts available to our residents through the township for free? A quick Google search shows the ones at our school have already been available to rent for a fee, 6 days a week, except Sunday, and that they're otherwise locked for safety, insurance, and staff requirement reasons. You just need the paper insurance. Is that true? As a side note, those of you against the end of courtesy busing, you are barking up the wrong tree. You need to take your busing concerns to the state of New Jersey and Trenton. This is the proper channel. Next year, there will be less government funding if the formula isn't changed. So your busing roads have only been temporarily halted for 1 year.
Thank you. Do you want to answer the certificate again? No, okay. Thank you so much. Next, Ms. Victoria Barone, and again, spell your name, please.
My name is Victoria Barone. My last name is B-A-R-O-N-E. I live in the Summerfield development on Georges Road. I've been a resident of this township for over 25 years. There's been so much false information on social media. I just want to verify tonight what is going on. 250 children have lost their courtesy busing. But to my knowledge, no child is going to be crossing any dangerous road like 522 or
I will not stand for that. Please maintain respect to any speaker.
Route 1. Are we not hiring a civil engineer to determine if the crossing guards are needed? And then the township would be hiring them so that students can safely walk to our school. Children who are losing busing are not being put in danger. The district, according to state regulations, does not have to transport your child. If you live less than 2 miles from the school, you are therefore responsible for transporting your child. They can walk, you can drive them, or you can carpool along with your neighbors. This was the best way that was decided by our school board and the community that participated in the budget committee earlier this year to make sure the education of our children is not touched. We do not want larger class sizes. We do not want to lose advanced placement classes or academic support for those students that need it. Do we want to lose music, art, sports, mental health services? Later start times were then also mentioned as a new problem by the small group who are now complaining about transporting their kids. We had a big push to have the elementary schools all start at the same time, and for the high school to go in a little later due to mental health benefits just last year. Many children in our township have always walked, and courtesy busing was a luxury the district just can no longer afford due to the cuts in state aid. Whenever there are budget cuts, someone is not going to be happy. We cannot please all the people all the time. Really, I think you need to take these concerns, and I think as a township, all of us should take this seriously. Because next year, there's going to be even more budget cuts, and we're going to even lose more programs. So what we need to do is we need to take these concerns to the state of New Jersey, down to Trenton, and see what we can do to make sure we don't get any more of these cuts in state aid. I like the idea of maybe putting up a referendum. I thought maybe that would be a good idea, and let the people in the township vote.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Vanita Balani.
Hi, I'm Vanita Balani. I live on 10 Deerfield Trail in Monmouth Junction. Thank you, board and members.
Spell your name, please. I'm sorry.
Vanita, V-I-N-I-T-A, Balani, B-A-L-A-N-I. First of all, thanks
Thank you.
for all you're doing in education and in keeping it up for our kids. So the reason I'm here today is that I was back up in front of the board 22 years ago on the same issue, requesting that courtesy busing be restored. And while I appreciate that this is not a board issue, just because of the way the current legislation is written, which was written over 50, 60 years ago, nobody's fault. And I also understand the administrative procedures on the state and district level do not address safety in busing transportation nor walking. However, 50, 60 years ago, you know, the townships are smaller, they work together more holistically. What I'm finding now is that we don't have that. It's more like it's not my responsibility and it's being passed to someone else. I'm not making judgments, that's just the status quo today. So I spoke to the State Board of Education, and Susan Spence advised me that each district is able to come to the board, and that's why we're here today on behalf of all those petitioning that we restore courtesy busing for the following reasons, okay? And we brought this up 22 years ago, and those conditions still exist today. It's a fact that our township doesn't control the speed limit in the township. It's controlled by county and state and other areas. We hired a safety expert who was a safety expert to then Christy Whitman, the governor. And they presented findings. We presented that to the board, which is a public's right to, because if no one's going to take care of that, we're making you aware that you may not be aware of these facts, that if a child was struck at 25 miles an hour versus 35 or 45, they really wouldn't have a chance to survive. And I understand the budget cuts. But we're saying, take a look at the alternatives. The State Board of Education also told me if there were circumstances in our community, which we are a rural and a semi-rural district. We're very different from some of the other areas. And that's what we brought 22 years ago. Those conditions still exist today. So we want to make you aware. Let's take a look at it. There's no cut and dry solution, but we're imploring you to take a look at that. You know, maybe giving the busing to the kids, then you wouldn't have to hire the crossing guards. There could be some savings elsewhere. So I'm really imploring on safety is an issue. I know it's not in your mandate. I know it's not in the state mandate, and we need to work. I agree with you. We need to work on a state legislature level. I would like us to see, Susan Spence at the State Board of said, come and ask, come talk to your board. That's why we're here today.
Thank you for your
All right.
comment. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may be allowed one more statement.
All right.
Thank you.
If I may
I
be-
didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
If I may be allowed
Excuse
one
me.
more statement.
You're over the 3 minutes. I do have to maintain that. But you're more than welcome to come back.
Okay. Yeah, and it won't be long.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bellani. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please approach the podium.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Nehal Tandel, Nehaltandel, and I live in Dean's Ponds. So, I want to talk about the school busing issue. So basically, my son is going to the kindergarten. So now he has to cross the Viking Way, which has a 40 miles limit, which has no crosswalk, and people are driving in the 50 miles limit. He doesn't even even somebody in last meeting said that, even the bus driver not allow the kids to stand alone in that, that small kids. Now, another topic is Mr. Feder actually tried to bring very good PowerPoint. One thing was missing is there are comparison between different school districts. For example, tennis courts. North Brunswick is open. Why we don't have it open? So I'm just trying to understand, right? I don't have any idea. But overall, I'm just trying to explain this. Basically, we need some transparency where you are spending the money, which was missing in the PowerPoint, right? Another fact is 7 million or whatever, 5 million, 4.9 is coming next year. What is the plan? If, everybody is listening here and all the people who are opposing, if there is no plan, their school bus is going to cut. So you need to understand, because I believe this is the last resort you have, right? Other thing is all the achievements are by students. Mr. Feder is trying all his achievement, but it's not. It's like students are making good progress. Teachers are great, accepted because they are great. And my elder daughter is doing great. She is in GNT throughout from kindergarten, and I know it's very helpful. But overall, we need some transparency where we are spending money, which is very difficult to find, or it's not presented anywhere, right? And all the things which is coming like, we have to cut these. Yeah, that's going to be pain point for everybody. But that's there has to be some way to restore this school bus, because if we cannot do it this year, how are we going to do it next year? How are you going to have the school bus? Because if you start cutting the school bus for 2 miles and 2.5 miles, I think none of the elementary school will have a school bus. None of the community in elementary will have a school bus. Yeah, I have my timer here. So,
Got
all
4
right.
seconds.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
day.
Thank you very much. Next.
Good evening. My name is David Carroll, D-A-V-I-D, C-A-R-R-O-L-L. I live at 24 Hardwick Drive in Kendall Park, and I've lived there about 5 years. It's not my first time, I've had a relationship with the school district many years before that. I served as a school board attorney for 30 years, starting in 1985. And I moved here and retired. I live in Princeton Manor. We have a very active community there, and people are very interested in the elections. They're diligent citizens. And I'm here tonight, not on behalf of them, but on behalf of the League of Women Voters, of which I'm a member. Yes, they do allow women in the group. The League of Women Voters, if you don't know, is a nonpartisan service organization that seeks to encourage information and participation in government. And the League has made a goal this year in this area to try and have a candidates night in every school district in this part of New Jersey. Toward that end, the League will be making a formal application under your policy for the use of one of the facilities. And I encourage everyone to at least view that. We're going to try and get it on the public education channel and also the district's website, so it'll be available for those who can't attend. And we encourage, we'll be sending out a letter in the next couple of days that will go to all the candidates asking that they consider participating in this, inviting them. It'll be in early October. We've got 3 dates set down. Those will be laid out. We want to get feedback from the candidates as to what dates are most convenient. We can maximize attendance at that. I'm just informing the board now. We'll comply with the policy. And Scott, you'll be happy to hear that the League has insurance policy, and we'll provide a certificate of insurance. And so I just wanted to let you know and urge everyone who's a candidate, either on the board now or running now, to participate, and I encourage citizens to come to this important meeting. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any other speakers?
Thank you so much for your time. My name, Rajesh Soni. I'll spell it out, R-A-J-E-S-H, last name S-O-N-I, and I'm the resident of South Brunswick Township.
Thank you.
Increasingly, it feels that the esteemed management has become cold and numb to our repeated request. Since last meeting, we had numerous people coming here and speak about the courtesy busing, but we have not heard one response back on what actions have been taken or what has been done. So to me, nothing. The standard response of Trenton does not really cut. It is too easy to say, but it doesn't work that way. Again, I like to take this opportunity and remind, our priority is how to run a school, not how to run wellness centers or something else or insurance program. So let's please focus on running schools. To be, again, honest, again, I apologize for being direct. Either it's incompetency or you are living in some alternate reality. We had a list of achievements being presented, great. Now, can you think, how can kids do all that and win robotics or do everything if they're asked to walk 40 minutes one way in cold or in different extreme weathers, carrying school bags and instruments, etc.? It won't happen. So I don't know, again, how you are putting 2 and 2 together. Tennis courts, you were saying about being insurance claims and everything. I don't know how every school district in the United States keeps it open. And only we have this problem? Okay. And if that is still the case, let's assume that is the case. What happens when a kid falls down, trips down on a snowy day? Won't that insurance claims be a lot more? Another big achievement mentioned of all the extracurricular activities, blah, blah, blah. The 6th grader who is starting this year, he has only one sport to pick, that is football. Now, if he doesn't like that aggressive sport, he has literally no sports option. are we on the same page or we are just playing PowerPoint exercise over here? Anyway, summarizing, either there is incompetency or I feel there is really less interest among the members to solve the problem. If there is less interest or different priorities have emerged, I would strongly suggest resign, have somebody else take over and work on it. And again, it's a request, and if you guys are passionate, please pull up your socks and let's start from restoring courtesy buses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Yes, so my name is so long, I don't want to waste my time reading my name.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Secretary?
Okay. So my name is Purna, again I told you, Purnachand Araupalli. I live in Summerfield. I have no association with any of the organizations. So I'm specifically here to talk about the Summerfield access road, right? This is the official street map from the South Brunswick website, the school, the official township, right? If you see, from the Scott Court to Summerfield, there is no pathway. It doesn't show anything. It's just cut in the middle of the road. Okay, there's no access way. If you go to any of the Google Maps, if you go to any of the maps, if you put a walk map, it won't show anything. And we all know that there is a chain putting there saying that it is only for emergency access, right? Imagine one of the kid, I see emails that the board is saying that, oh, there is a chain that just for vehicle, just jump on the chain and go, just walk it, right? So what happens? You are teaching a kid saying that there is a rule, but you jump on the rule, just skip it. You don't worry about it. So understand what happens. The same kid, he comes to the school. He has something hazardous in the school, something happens. You put a line saying that don't cross the line. So he has a mindset, yeah, my school board is saying that I can jump on the line. My school district, yeah, that's what happens. So who is going to take the risk? The township is not marking this as a pathway, okay? The township is very clear. We are talking to them, they are saying that they are not going to reply. It's already marked as not accessible. You go to website and check it today, okay? It doesn't show any of the maps. Just put the distance, it won't show this path to walk kids. So who is going to take the risk? If something happens tomorrow, if someone is going to sue the school district because this is coming from school district to access this path, then it will be school district, but no one is going to pay money. It is going to come to us, we are paying the tax, then we are going to use that money to defend that lawsuit, right? So please understand, I am not talking about the overall problem. This path is not marked as a walkway or anything. This is I'm pulling up from the township. So if anything happens to the kid, tomorrow it would be school district. I'm telling in the recording. Anything happens to that. So if you are really approving on behalf of school district, tomorrow, if someone is going to file a legal complaint, it would be school district. So please understand on that. So we are going to send that email officially. I am going to send it. I have no politics here. Again, I'm saying, I saw this, I did my research. I'm here with the valid points. So if you have some information to defend it, let me know. I will take with the township. I don't want to play in between. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Yeah, my name is MUKESHBHATT, and I live in Deans Pond, South Brunswick. So, Scott, I think your speech was like you are trying to go for re-election. You've already been solidified. You got a very handsome contract already. I don't think so you actually need to do that. If I would be a board member, I would just look at what exactly you said. Your scorecard is very simple, and you actually literally said that. Since last 6 years you are here, the NJ New Jersey board, or I don't know what that authority is, has found us inadequate. That's your scorecard. And that's that's simple one thing. That means, and you know why it is? Because your actions has led thousands of families to leave this district.
Okay.
because of all of the actions you have done, 1,000 families, and our numbers are dwindling down and our budgets are getting cut. And if this behavior and this attitude continues, it is going to go down further, because families who have two parents working and going to New York cannot simply afford to live like this. And last year you actually changed the school timing as well, and this year you are literally doubling down on the families. Purposely, I believe that you don't want a lot of families to live here, and I somehow feel that there is an agenda behind that. I don't know what it is, because it's such a common sense. Like, why are you doing that? You know the formula very well, that you need to let the families stay here, and every year you do something that more families are planning to go out of this district. That actually means math was simple. The formula was not complicated by New Jersey board. It is a very simple formula. You just have to understand both sides of the math and you should have to act on it. But you are exactly acting opposite to that. Anyway, that's one point. The second is about the board. I think the board is like not even capable enough to understand what exactly Scott is saying. It is not so difficult to put all expenses on the line on one column and ask 3 questions. Is it business critical? Is it important for the kids? Can I do that? Just like Julia was asking, you should have asked this in one-to-one meeting with him. Ask him 1,000 questions unless you are clarified and 100% sure that I'm not going to cut the budget. Because this is what exactly all you said, that school safety is so, kid safety is so important to us. Then what happened? You should not would have let him go until you got that answer. Go to every pinch of dollar amount. Why are you spending it? Where you are spending it? On what you are spending it? Can we save this money? But none of you would have done. I don't even think so that half of you are even capable to understand how the budget optimization happens. That's one thing. The last thing is like, Scott, you put up like this big list of things. But you haven't put that whole health center, which you talked about big time here, right? And I don't even care about that health center as such, because it's not that important. But the point being, if the cost is same from 2019 to this today, what exactly you achieved out of that health center? And you put 2.5 or 3 million, whatever capex, and you have already created a monster. Now every year you will feed that capex. In that 2.5 million, you could have run buses for another 20 years. Cost has not gone down, and I don't know how much of the satisfaction of the staff is there. I don't have the data point, but cost has not gone down. So what was the use of that if the cost has not gone down? Simply let it the way it was running perfectly. Or you would have told us that 50% cost has already gone down. We are one of the best districts, and year over year, this is how the path is, and it will eventually become like 20-30% less. We don't need to put a single more dollar, because I know every year you are going to put maintenance capex on top of that, because now you have a facility.
I'd like to thank you for your comment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next comment, please.
You still haven't got it. You have to show them.
Vinita Balani, returning. I'm not going to take very long. The couple of points I made was that the State Board of Education asked us to come appeal to you to restore courtesy busing, because that, based on the way the law is written today, that's our only out, to come to you. I came on the points based on the safety information we received 22 years ago, and which has not changed because the speed limits in those areas are still the same. So it's the same points that I'm trying to say. We have the same issues today as we did 22 years ago, and I implored the board and the superintendent to consider that and to reconsider restoring courtesy busing. The other point that I made was, I understand these laws were made 60 years ago, but no one can guarantee those roads are going to be clean and de-iced. I haven't heard anywhere anyone step up to that. And it's not even a question of liability. It's about safety is an issue for our community. So we as a community are coming to you, doing a great job, educate our kids. And we want them to be able to get there safely too. So we're asking you to consider that. 60 years ago, they didn't have to write that into the law because it was automatically done. The police department partnered. 22 years ago, they partnered. We're asking for the same today. So I implore you to consider that again, that the conditions still haven't changed. We're still in that same semi-rural area. Keep up the work on education, and I know we have a long way to go on balancing all these budget issues in the era of budget cuts and a tough economic times. But yes, let's partner. And what I'm hearing from the community here is, don't keep so closed, be a little more transparent. We might even be willing to help. I think we'll come with a win-win solution. Partner, you have a lot of educated people in this community. We're willing to help. Ask. You don't have to do this alone. We're with you.
We don't.
Okay?
Just don't listen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, and comments?
I'm still Steve Garwood, Garwood. I still live at 80 West Countryside Drive, and I still have no affiliations. So, first let me say, I'm very troubled by the malicious lies and belligerent ignorance on display through South Brunswick social media lately. And then there's the personal insults here tonight. So far below acceptable behavior, I can hardly believe it. That we have to spend time dealing with this instead of real school business is so sad. Second, thank you, Scott, for yet another very detailed explanation of our financial realities, in addition to the detailed budget information, including a 3-year outlook available on the board's website. I know that Scott and our board have aggressively lobbied Trenton to correct the funding insanity we are experiencing, occasionally with success. In the face of the drastic cuts, I thank you for true creativity in reworking budgets and working with the Citizens Committee made of people from this community to prioritize education while making the very difficult decisions to cut where necessary. I know that New Jersey State Law S3950 restored courtesy busing for some regional districts for 1 year. As I understand it, this law does not apply to our district because we aren't a regional district. Is this correct? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? If you'd like to speak, I just would recommend you moving down a little bit so it's not such a far walk.
Good evening. My name is Beena Mehta, B-I-N-A-M-E-H-T-A, resident of South Brunswick for the last 19 plus years. My heart crumbles to million pieces seeing these little ones over here holding that placard. It's not an ideal scene, ideal situation, or ideal position any of us want to be in. We made a choice to come and live in this great district, which has wonderful school system, peace and harmony. And we are in this situation today. But I also see one more thing, that over the last 19 years, and I have attended every board meeting, whether it's here or in the municipal complex, before we even started to build up a family, majority of the faces are new. And thank you very much for all of y'all who have showed your concern and at least chosen to come here. It's very important to get involved. It's very important to know where our tax dollar goes and how it works. Maybe we are just beginning, but my request, continue to do so even after your child graduates. A parent asked me that if your child is going to graduate soon, why are you here? I'm here because I care. I live in South Brunswick and I care. All of us are here because we care. It's a collective team effort. It's no them, it's no us, it's all of us one. If we go to the core of the problem, let's go after the sponsors of the bill who are bringing in these budget cuts. Let's go after the proponents of these bills who are bringing these budget cuts to us, and that is in Trenton. Unfortunately, look at each and every face of the board member over here. In last 3 years, we have replaced almost 80% of the members. I see only 2 old faces, which is Lisa and Barry. Majority, every year we bring in 2 members and each of them fail us. So something is wrong. Either our understanding when we are on this side is not accurate and it's our perception, and when we go on the other side, the facts changes. Many of us are inspiring to be running for this election again. Wonderful. Our all the best, congratulations. I shall, personally vote if I find it's accurate thing to do. But it's not right to send your child to the school in September, and I'll tell you why. Because somebody went on social media and called this entire team sitting on my right. They were compared with horrific British rule of 200 plus year in India, where hundreds of thousands of people died. Jallianwala Bagh was one such incident which the entire compound was locked under chain, people were fired. If we look, demoness, monstrous, killers over here, this is a national security problem.
Thank you for your comment.
Let's take the right action, work collectively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Next.
Hi, good evening. Lori Angermeyer, Loriangermeier, Kendall Park. I have 3 students in the district. Wasn't going to get up and speak tonight. Haven't been to a board meeting in about 3 months. I think the last time I was here was the beginning of May. We had a little tragedy accident in my family, so I haven't been around for a while. What I have noticed, oops, this moves, is that I feel like people only come out when it affects them. And that's what I see here tonight, and that's kind of what I've been hearing around town. I have a senior this year, and I was looking through the budget. It's like 41 pages. It is online. I was going to pose a question as to why the senior parking went up 52%. It's a privilege, and I understand that. And I think my quick question was, what are we using those extra funds to go to? As I looked through the budget, I kind of realized where those extra funds were going. Oh, everybody's leaving. Awesome. What I also want to say to people is, while this is affecting you now, you have to look at the future and maybe volunteer, offer to possibly take a position on the board. I would love to be a board member. I just unfortunately don't have time with 3 kids who play sports, which, by the way, we did not have a JV softball team this year, just so you know as well. And we didn't have a freshman team because there were only 6 boys that were freshmen that were interested. So it wasn't because we're a horrible district. There was no interest. But other than that, shame on a lot of you for only coming here because this one thing affects you. You should be here all the time, and things that affect everybody should be here all the time. It's sad that a lot of people don't show up for these meetings. And that's really all I have to say. So have a nice evening, everybody.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Christine Resnick, CHRISTINE, RESNICK. I live in Kendall Park. Some of the candidates who are for the Board of Ed who are here tonight appear to be very cynical because they see opportunities to give themselves power. We need to stop pitting ourselves against each other, ask the serious questions, and not focus on small issues like opening a tennis court or ensuring that students have the ability and accessibility to walk to school, do so that we can save money and use that money towards the academics, safe and secure building, or mental health of our students. We have serious issues and need individuals like the 3 incumbents and those that are currently on the board to continue to lead and work the district administration. We have seen a cohesive team dealing with the issues that face our district. We don't need to go back to what we were dealing with a year ago with a lack of leadership, vision, collaboration, and ethical issues, nor those candidates that have tied themselves to our former board president, who is currently under ethics violations. Whether you like it or not, all the questions you asked tonight during comments were answered in Mr. Fetter's presentation. Unfortunately, courtesy busing is just that. It's a courtesy.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please.
Hi, Lisa Garwood, Lisa-Garwood, Heathcote. Consider the word gift. It's a thing given willingly to someone without payment. If someone can't afford to give a gift, I'd hope the other would understand. Those of you who've been affected by the courtesy busing cut, I ask you to pause a moment and consider what has happened. You were gifted busing, but the giver has had such a drastic cut in income that they cannot afford to gift busing to you anymore without affecting the education of your child. I ask you to consider one more thing. Although you are now inconvenienced, who's responsible for stirring you up so? Could it be a woman who's committed multiple ethics violations you can watch on our district website video to see for yourselves, and those who choose to align themselves with someone of that ilk? The answer is yes. As for some of the other lies currently being spread by this same group, Mr. Fetter's salary is on the district website under budget. The amount, considering the job and excellent ranking of our schools, is just not worth any fuss, and it's not 300 grand either. Mr. Kamal's list of class and extracurricular cuts was laughable at best, as you saw tonight, citing clubs that ended about a decade ago and others that were not even on the chopping block. The comment comparing tennis court and track locks to India's bloody fight for independence is so heinous, revolting, and callous that I am still reeling. What were you thinking, sir? How some of our board candidates can be so completely ignorant about basic board information, budget intricacies, laws, and procedures, I don't know. I think some have never attended a meeting before now. Never have I observed such behavior from candidates in the past. Where is the due diligence in learning about what it is they're trying to lead before running and casting blame in all the wrong places? There is, as you are now aware, a code of ethics and rules that need to be followed. Their actions show they had no idea. Please consider who is saying what and fact check what is posted. Most of the lies spraying our township pages could be disproven with a quick, easy Google search. Our board is finally able to work cohesively and productively. No one is pushing a personal agenda, nor are they aiming at personal political aspirations as happened in the recent past. Let's elect those who know how to do the same and have our children's best interest at heart.
Thank you for your comment.
For your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to make comments? Ma'am, I'm sorry, you've already made your comments. You know the rules.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, you've already made your public comments. I understand, ma'am. You've been on a board, you know how it works. Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you for the public comments. If there's, we're now going to move on to notification that the next scheduled Board of Ed meeting is set for Thursday, September 14th, 2023. On behalf of the board, we also want to wish everyone good luck as you start the new year, and for the children, we wish you all the best as you start your new school year. May I have a motion to, and a second to adjourn? Motion? I need a motion first. Motion, Mr. Mitchell, second, Ms. Ferreira. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending. All in favor, I'm sorry, for the adjournment. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Thank you. Thank you, South Brunswick, and have a pleasant evening.